I had the opportunity to talk to Chris Wells, who is he's a father, he's a husband, and he's a pastor, but he's also a recovering alcoholic and drug addict. He's got like 12 or 14 years, something like that. So that's how we connected. I sent him a message on Thread. I responded to a post or something like that, and we just ended up going back and forth and discovered that we have some of the same things going on, similar stories. He quit alcohol and drugs, and he's really big into fitness right now. I'm kind of the same way. I'm only 4 years out the gate, but for me, it's kind of like switching an addiction from alcohol to the gym, but I'll take it. It's healthy. So I got some really good workout advice from him, some diet advice, but where the power is in this story is how he grew up, the things that happened to him while he was a child, and his sister, coming from a place that dark, and then getting to a place where you're giving back, where your whole purpose is to help someone and give back. I just find that to be an incredible story, no matter where it's coming from. I just love the dichotomy between a broken person, broken beyond all means, finding strength to help somebody else. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what Almost Above Average is about. That's what the podcast is about, to share stories to help people. So I really hope you guys enjoy this. It was a really heartfelt. I think we both cried during this episode, but don't let the kids listen. But there's a lot of power in this story. So let's go now into that conversation with Chris Wells.
I hear you.
So getting ready for your day?
Man, I get up at 6. But yeah. But we had some good little sickness decide to show up to the house. So
Oh shit.
I've been sick. I got a bacterial infection Sunday. Got some brine water in an open sore, and it got infected. My leg's been swole up by the size of a freaking, I don't know, massive. So I've been fighting that. Just got better today. And
It came in through your leg?
Yeah. So I do. I'm a director of operations for a chemical company.
Right.
And I typically don't like to send my guys or my teamwork members, whatever, on a holiday or a weekend. If there's weekend work, I'll go do it myself. As long as it's something simple, I can do it myself. Whether it's a saltwater disposal, we typically don't do this kind of work. We take care of the chemical and provide chemical and service. But the pumper was in Texas, and a storm rode through Oklahoma, and you needed to drain up the saltwater disposal. Mm-hmm. Well, I've never done it before, but I got there and I figured out how to do it, got her drained up. And I dropped some of my tools in a containment that was like 6 foot full of stagnant, nasty water. And the only way to get it was to get into that water.
Oh, that's gross.
So I didn't even think nothing about it. I just jumped in it, got my tools, got out, got finished, stripped off my coveralls. It is freaking 2 degrees. I'm in my underwear. I got my hard hat on and my safety glasses. And the funniest part of this whole entire story is I have group chats set up with each one of my areas: Northwest Oklahoma, South Oklahoma, West Texas, East Texas. Well, this was in Northwest Oklahoma. I take a picture of me in my hard hat, my safety glasses, and nothing but my underwear flexing, right? And I forget that we put our controller in these chat groups as well. And she's a female.
Oh no!
Yeah, dude. So I was embarrassed. Like, one of my bros called me and he's like, "Dude, are you serious?" I'm like, "What?" He said, "You know,
our controllers in the chat, bro."
He's like, "Do you know what Shayna's in that chat room?" I'm like, "No way! What the crap?" I'm trying to delete the photo, but you can't. Yeah. It's already been seen. Oh man, it was embarrassing. She messaged a little bit. She goes, "Put your clothes back on and go to work." And I was like, and she said, "Did you at least get paid for stripping?" And I'm like, "All right, cool. I'm not getting fired."
Yeah, that's the worst that happened? If she just called and gave you a little bit of shit?
Yeah,
you're all right.
Yeah, I'm good. I was like, "It's funny." So I told her, I said, "Yeah, man." I said they gave me a couple dollar bills. And she said you should have gave them change back. But it was cool. It was cool. But yeah, and then woke up. We went on a little date night with my wife, Friday night and Saturday night, and woke up Sunday and had 102.4 fever.
Jeez,
and,
bro.
I got up out of bed and I couldn't walk on my left leg. I'm like, what in the world? Look down at my quad. Looks like I've done a heck of a leg day. It's just swollen, but it's red and it's hot. And I was like, man, so I slept all day Sunday, went to the doctor Monday. They tested me for COVID, tested me for strep throat. My throat was sore. They're like, man, you didn't test positive for flu. You didn't test positive for COVID. None of it. And I'm like, Well, I pulled my pants down. I said, look at this. And I'm like, holy crap, what is that? And I was like,
Right.
man, my leg is swollen. They said, you're probably fighting. That's probably where your fever's coming from. You're fighting infections. They cultured it and tested it and had a bacteria infection in my leg.
That
So,
I had something similar a while ago, like when I was drinking, and a lot of this is because I was drinking. But I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. But at there was this time I was going through where I would get these sores on my feet, like the bottom of my feet. And
mm,
one of them, it got so big, like it looked just like a regular blister. And then after a couple days, it was like the whole size of my heel.
oh,
And
wow.
I had to go to the hospital, and the doctor had ended up cutting it all out.
Oh,
But it
wow.
was from what they determined it was from. It was bacteria from the gym, because my routine back then, I would go to work at this warehouse, and at lunch I would go to the gym, change, keep the same socks on, and shower, within an hour, try to cram it all in an hour, and then get back. And so I had one of these open sores on my feet, and they think that
Yep.
bacteria got in there and infected it. But I
That's what
had to have
happened.
surgery on it. It moved up to my knee, and I had to have surgery on my knee. It was just a pain in the ass.
Well, I'm glad I got mine caught earlier, I guess, because the same thing. I had an open sore on my quad there,
Yeah.
and bacteria got in there and just started growing. But
I really appreciate you doing the podcast. I know we
yeah,
talked about, the whole point of the podcast is because I want to share some stories of overcoming, and you and I kind of connected on the recovery thing. When I started this podcast, I did not want to make it about recovery, like 100% about recovery. I just didn't want to do a recovery podcast because I was just hearing so many different stories. But the reason why it was started is because I heard my own story in an AA meeting once when I was trying to quit. And I've been in AA for years. Like when I'd get in trouble and get arrested, I'd go to AA, never really soak up the program. But at the very, very end, when I failed at committing suicide, I tried one more time. I just didn't know how to quit. And then one day when I moved to North Carolina, I Googled AA, and I was like, where can I go get some help? Found some meetings, started going to meetings around here, and then I ended up not liking it. I couldn't connect with anybody in the meetings. And then one day I heard someone he was sharing, and he shared my exact story, like everything I was going through, everything I was feeling. And I was like, like I made a connection with that person at the time, but it was really the story. Like, I connected with the story. And since then, I'm like, if that story could pull me out of the dark, you know what I mean? These kind of stories have a lot of power. And so you and I were kind of chatting about that. I do want to tell your story too, because you have a pretty wild story. And also just because I follow you on Facebook, I'd like to get some workout tips maybe and some diet
yeah,
tips. You're
yeah,
fucking crushing it.
yeah.
But
Man,
I imagine as an addict, I kind of have the same fever for working out that I did as an addict. I just don't have the knowledge. You
yeah.
know what I mean? So I have my strategy is go to the gym and beat myself up for fucking 3 hours and then go on with my day.
Yeah,
But
I'm not a fitness expert by all means, but I know it works, and I know it
yeah,
works for me. I'm a huge advocate for what works for you. There's so many people out there, fitness influencers. You got to do this movement this way. Well, I do
right.
the movement that way. I don't feel it working where I want it to feel,
Yeah,
so I adjust the movement to work for me.
yeah.
And just just stuff like that. And I'm a huge I defend people all the time for like, man, I like to do it this way, and they're like, well, that you ain't gonna get no muscle growth. Man, if you watch Arnold Schwarzenegger work out, there was no rhyme and reason to his movements. So tell me for a fact that you got to be strict back against the wall to do a curl. That dude had massive freaking arms. You look at Ronnie Coleman, his
Hmm.
style's different than Jay Cutler's. And
Right.
and we're talking about the golden age of bodybuilding. And what I began to realize was these guys really didn't have they had a rhyme and reason. It just didn't
Hmm.
match up scientifically with what everybody said you had to do.
Right.
You look at Plattis, he couldn't stand freaking deadlifts.
Yeah.
He had the most massive legs in all bodybuilding, and people think you have to do deadlift to get massive legs. You don't. There's really. I don't squat. I don't deadlift. I do bench press. There's still got to be some ego in me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I bench press on a Smith machine. I bench press on a Smith machine. I can do the same weight on a free bar as I do a Smith machine. But I like the Smith machine because it forces me to stay in right movement.
Right.
Where I can curl and move and twist and turn on a bench press and use other muscles to help get the weight up.
Yeah.
Smith machine doesn't allow that. So, I weighed the bar of the Smith machine. It's 25 pounds. I add 10 pounds on at the very start. Now I got a 45-pound bar.
Yeah.
And then I do and then I add my weight. I don't add those 10 pounds. It's a 45-pound bar. I do know that there's some pulleys involved in there. So but what I'm trying to get at is I do 385 for reps of 8. I
Damn.
do 370 for reps of 8 on free bench. So I lost 10 pounds using the Smith machine. So what?
Yeah.
But my chest is growing, and all these dudes in the gym who are meatheads are like, "You ain't gonna get no." My chest is bigger than theirs.
Yeah.
I can walk over and play with their weight too, but I use a Smith machine. Why? I'm an old man. I've had back surgery, so I limit wear and tear in my body. How do I limit wear and tear on my body? I use machines a lot. So when we get into that section right there, I'll tell what works for me,
All
because
right.
I'm a huge advocate for what works for me doesn't necessarily have to look like an influencer.
Right.
What works for me doesn't have to look like a scientific base. I don't like scientific based lifters anyway. I don't know if you know this, but I'm 47 years old.
I
So
didn't know that.
scientific base is fairly new to the lifting culture.
Yeah.
I was raised in a lifting culture when I used to lift, where you just slam that weight up, push more weight. Where reps of 4 were acceptable. You know what I mean?
Right.
Now it's like it's not right, but so
I
I do
do it
different.
like right now on heavy stuff. When I get to my heavy reps, I'll do like 3, just reps of 3 if I can get up there. Like that's my baseline.
Yeah, I do 10, 8, 6, 4, 2
Every time.
every time.
Okay. Are
Yeah.
you pre-planned before you go into the gym? Do you know what you're going to do? I think that's one of my problems too. I was doing really well when I had a workout plan when I was following it. But now
Mhm.
since I don't have it, I go in there and kind of wing it, and I don't feel like I'm getting.
Yeah, I track weight, and I don't know if you've seen these little. They're called cookies, and they're
Mhm.
like 1 pound weight, and I add that on every single rep,
Okay.
every single time. Every time I go up, is 1 more pound. You don't really notice it, but your
Yeah.
body does.
Right.
But I do pre-planned workouts, and I track weight. That way, I try to go up 0.5 pounds each time. What I do progressive overload, where if my rep range is 12 to 10 right now, because I'm cutting, so my workouts are totally different.
Yeah.
Right now, my workouts are all about the pump. So I do 10 reps, rest 10 seconds, 10 reps, rest 10 seconds to failure. And I just do that
Oh,
over and
shit.
over and over again until I fail. And then that's it. I don't do a second movement. I don't do a third movement. I'm just trying to pump my body, because, contrary to popular belief, the massive bodybuilders work for a pump. I don't care who says it doesn't work. Tell me how they got big then. They didn't put balloons in their body.
Right.
Simple put, if it freaking works, it works. I don't care what your science says behind it. Everybody says the
Yeah.
pump doesn't do nothing. Dude, these guys would lift for the pump. And I'm sorry, but I haven't yet to see anybody big as Dubai.
Yeah.
He just won Mr. Olympia. His thing is work for the pump. And until you are his size, don't tell me it don't work.
So what is that? It's 2 sets of regular, and then just go to failure after that, and then try it again.
Well, me, it's just it's all one. For me, it's one set. For me, a set stops when you walk away from the deal. So for
Okay.
me, like on my bench press, right? I put on 3 plates. I do 10. I rack it. I count 10 seconds. I do 10. I rack it. I count 10 seconds. And then I push. And so maybe it's 8 this time, but that's
Mm-hmm.
all I can get. I rack it, wait 10 seconds, and maybe I can only get 4. I rack it, wait 10 seconds, and then maybe I can only get 2. I rack it, and then maybe I can only get 1. And then once I get to that 1, and it's what I would call a failure,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people think they reach failure. But if you take a 5 or 6 second break, and if you can do 1 more rep, that wasn't failure. So, and then what I find in that rep range of doing it that way is I actually get to reach failure.
Mm-hmm.
I do lighter weight, and I get a good pump. The blood is because 10 seconds is what it takes in theory to get fresh old blood out, fresh blood in.
Okay. So
So
keeping it under tension for 10 seconds straight?
no, just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rack, and then I'm free of all weight for 10 seconds.
Okay, gotcha.
And then what happens is that old blood that was in there is gone and fresh blood comes in, but you keep blood circulating. If you wait past then your body gets in a rest state, right?
Okay.
So at 10 seconds, I smash it out again so that blood, some of that old blood is leaving, the new blood's coming in, so my body stays full of blood.
I'm gonna try that. Today's my push day. I'm gonna do those sets today and see how that goes.
Yeah.
Normally, like I've been doing like 4 sets of 10, like a very standard, regardless of where I'm at. I just stopped. I don't know. I've been lazy as shit in the gym.
And it really depends. If you're wanting to work for strength, then you want a long rest in between workouts. If you're wanting to work for high trop, the word that I'm not going to use when we actually do this.
Yeah.
If you want to, for definition, you know what I'm saying, you want to have a smaller rest. And that doesn't work on everything. On big movements that use massive amounts of muscles, like chest and chest press, deadlift, bench press, leg squats, then you want to take all of that 3 to 4 minute rest.
Okay.
If I'm just doing a simple arm curl, I'm probably not going to wait 3 minutes in between sets.
Right.
Because I'm just using a bicep curl. I'm isolating my bicep.
Yeah.
I'm lifting, and I'm going to get bored as crap waiting 3 minutes. And I'm going to jump back into my set. But as long as you get a good 10 second, and that's really what it all boils down to, what you're wanting. If you're looking for power, you want your body, you want that muscle fully recovered before you go to your next set. If you're looking for strength, you want to meet halfway. If you're looking for a pump, you want to reduce that as much as possible. Keep the blood pumping through that muscle as much as possible. And
for the pump, you want to keep the blood going the whole time. So short breaks. Okay.
Short breaks, short, quick workouts. Superset a lot of things. If you want to feel a phenomenal, I know it's not a push pull. If you want to feel a freaking phenomenal arm day, do a bulkhead and straight into a tricep workout. And then just alternate back and forth. So on your bicep, you have a long head and a bulk head.
Yeah.
Or what they call a long head and short head. Then you have the brachialis, which is in here, which is actually on the side of your arm, but underneath your bicep.
Okay.
So there's 3 heads of a bicep. There's only 2. The brachialis doesn't count. But so do like a standing, leaning forward. Reverse curls is going to work great on your brachialis. So I don't know the actual name for these things. I can send them to you, but I call it a standing reverse. So I stand up, and I have the machine behind me, and I curl forward on your bicep, right? And I go straight into the tricep movement that's like this.
Okay, I got you.
With no rest in between.
Yeah.
And then your bicep gets pumped, your tricep gets pumped, and I take a short 10-second interval, and I go hit it again. And I do 3 sets like that.
Okay.
And then I'll move straight into a preacher curl that supersets slow and controlled, 1 hand at a time to failure, and then straight into a brachialis, which is a reverse curl, and then straight into a tricep extension skull crusher. So now I've just worked
standing or laying down.
Standing on a machine with a rope. So now I've worked the long head of the tricep, the bulk head of the bicep, the short head of the bicep, the brachialis, all at one time. So all that's getting fresh blood moving. Your arms will just go bloop, 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 bloop. And it feels good. It looks good. And if you get the pump right, it can actually hurt. Like you'll have to stop mid-workout and let
That's
the blood
going to be
move.
my goal right now. Make it hurt.
I'll record some workouts, man, but and then send them over to you. But you can get a pump so bad. Like I know when I do traps, my pump will hurt so bad that my ears hurt.
That's what I'm saying.
Like
I need to get on that.
It climbs up the backside of my head, and like this is all throbbing back here. And
we've done enough work when it fucking hurts.
Yeah, I don't do push pull days. I do muscle focus days. I'll go in and just hit chest. Just hit bicep, and they call it a bro split, I guess. And that's when I'm cutting. When I'm not cutting, then I do 2 muscle groups a day. When I'm building, so I'll do like chest and shoulders. I'll do biceps and triceps. I'll do back and traps. I'll do legs and sleep.
And legs and sleep.
Yeah.
Focus on the sleep.
My leg day is just a leg day. I don't do anything else besides leg day
Yeah.
because I usually leave the gym what my daughter and wife call hula hooping, straight into a cold bath. Yeah,
All wobbly.
yeah. But
Yeah.
me and my son, we work out together every day. 2 day, usually 2 rest days, alternating rest days. I don't necessarily have set rest days. It depends on what his schedule looks like with sports and my schedule looks like with work.
Yeah.
And when those two collide, well, we just find our rest day.
Right.
But
And I'm gonna start that with my son. He just had his ACL surgery yesterday, so he's
how'd that go?
recovering now. But he's probably gonna have to take a year off of football and just
Yeah.
get back to normal. Hopefully, he might be back by lacrosse, but it's his junior year, so it's an important year for that he's gonna miss. But at least he'll get his senior year. He's a big
Yep.
boy. He's 6'5", 260. He's fucking large, so much bigger than me. You're six. How tall are you?
I'm 6'2".
You're 6'2". I'm 6'2" too. How much you weigh?
I weigh 260.
Damn. I'm at
265 right
230.
now. I'm on a cut. I
Yeah.
walk around comfortable at 270, 280.
Okay. And what is your what's your diet like during your cut?
Right now, I'm on 1,700 calories a day. I usually start off my morning with fat-free yogurt and bananas with protein, 2 scoops of protein mixed in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then usually like a salad with some chicken breast for lunch, fat-free ranch, fat-free chipotle ranch. Run the ringer on the salads, avocados,
Onions, tomatoes, fucking.
yeah, all of it. No
Okay.
croutons, no bacon, none of the fatty meats. I'll have a snack in between, which will usually be either like some kind of fruit, because I am an old man. I have to have some sugars or I'll start getting the shakes.
Yeah.
So I'll put some fruits in there because they'll break down the sugar. Some kind of a simple carb, rice cakes with peanut butter on it. Rice cakes with my favorite is caramel rice cake. Zero, like and some honey sprinkled on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's freaking 2 rice cakes with honey on it is a total of 100 calories. Nothing, but your body feels full.
Yeah.
And then supper is usually a salad with some kind of lean chicken.
Okay. How
And
much is your protein intake for a day?
325 grams. I'm a big believer 2 pounds of protein per body weight and
Okay.
2 pounds of carbs per body weight, even cutting.
Okay.
Especially at my age. At my age, it takes more.
Yeah.
So we've got to adjust some things for my age. And when I'm not cutting, I actually have less protein than when I
Really?
am cutting. Yeah, because when you're cutting, you're shorting yourself of calories. So
Right.
what's your body going to start stealing?
Your muscles.
Proteins, muscles. So
Right.
I need to feed extra. So not necessarily to go to muscle growth, but to give the freedom for the body to eat it and still get the muscle growth.
Right. Huh. All right.
So a calorie deficit, I increase protein, and I'm not a big believer in carbs make you fat. So I'm a big carb guy too. The pump, right, especially right now, what the carbs are good for your pump.
Right.
They help carry freaking water into your biceps, and when I'm cutting, I'm working for the pump. I'm not working for strength or size or anything else. I just want to keep the pump going. I want to keep muscles getting worked and burn some fat.
Yeah.
So
I want to
I'll
do all
cut.
that. I want to get healthy, and I want to get some definition. More than anything, though, I just want to feel like I'm being healthy. I want to feel like a
Yeah,
healthy person.
yeah.
Well, let's
I
get it.
keep
Let's get
fat.
into your story now. I can
Yeah,
probably move this to the end about the working out stuff. But
yeah.
you've been sober 14 years now?
12, 12
12
years.
years? Awesome. So I mean, tell me about the story how you even ended up being an alcoholic.
Man, to really tell that story, I've got to go back.
All right.
So as a kid, some of my first memories is laying in a hospital room. I had been my biological mother's man, whoever he was a pedophile. He had raped me as a kid. I'm talking 4 or 5 years old.
Ugh.
And the mom, when I was in the hospital, my biological mom came in, and the doctor was talking to her, and she was telling doctors that I had to make the story up. I had to have slipped and fell on something. That there was no way that could have happened. So betrayal, right?
Right.
The one woman who's supposed to be your mom, you're the person that you can lean on, was choosing a man over her son. And that betrayal built. Not only did that betrayal build, but the insecurities the devil likes to put inside of you. And
Did you know that it was wrong when you were 4 years old? Or was it a case where you were just like, I guess this happens kind of thing, and you were like just accepting?
yes, it's a situation where you know that that's not right.
Right.
But I don't know how the mind processes that for, but it wasn't fun.
Right.
But that did put seeds in me that would feed into having to prove for the rest of my life that I wasn't gay.
Yeah.
And that was later. I mean, you don't know what homosexual or gay is at that age. You don't.
No.
That stuff's kind of taught. But as you get older, you still know this happened because that wasn't the last time. I was molested several more times through foster care. Several more times. So for me, sex and intimacy was nasty, right? It was disgusting. But it did put those insecurities in me once I began to realize what homosexuality was. And again, be clear, I'm a minister, and I minister to LGBTQ just as much as I minister to the guy in the church pew. That comes later on in my story. But so, but as you get older, right, you start learning these things. What attraction to a woman is, and then in the back of my mind, the devil's playing havoc in me. So my whole entire role of females was alcoholism numbed that pain. That's where I stepped into alcoholism, is to numb the feeling of hopelessness. I had to watch my sister get molested and raped. And in that situation, the person that was doing that would tell me, if you tell anybody, I'll kill her. So this is at 12, 13 years old. So I'm feeling like, I can't even be a man. I can't defend my sister. I can't do anything. So it began to put inside of me this inferiority that I'm not even really a man. I can't prevent myself from being raped. I can't prevent myself from being molested. I can't prevent my sister from being molested and raped. And just really the lies and the insecurities, and beginning to realize maybe this is life.
Right. You have no frame for reference, so it just starts to be that is your life.
Mm-hmm.
That is terrible.
A
And
real
you're
hatred
watching your
for,
sister go through it, and you're trying to protect her, but you can't, and that's
yep.
got to put you in a state of just hopelessness.
Yeah, and having to watch, they'd make me watch, and there was nothing
Ugh.
you could do about it.
For these
Uh,
foster families,
yeah,
man. So you guys got to stay together in the foster homes.
we stayed together until about 16.
Jeez.
We went to a group home, and we would always come together, and then families would come in and want to check out kids and all this stuff, right? And we would always make this little joke: see you in about an hour. We knew
Hmm.
that we were too far along. We were too old. Nobody wanted to adopt a teenager. We were
Right.
just kind of buying our time, waiting to be turned 18.
Jeez.
And one day she didn't come back. And so she got adopted. So we were able to stay together for a very long time in our relationship. We actually even were together through an adoption that failed.
Hmm.
Forgot to tell you about that. So there was a family. That's how we ended up in Oklahoma from Texas.
Hmm.
There was a family that came and adopted both of us at the age of 10 and 11.
Hmm.
And the family was cool for a little while. We let our guard down. We were excited to maybe have a home, to have a family. They were Christian people. I got introduced to God then at that age, and my biological sister and myself, they had 4 kids.
Hmm.
Well, their youngest daughter got breast cancer, and the adopted mom set us both down and said this was our fault. That if we had been better kids, the sister wouldn't have been stressed. She'd have been able to spend more time with her daughter, and she wouldn't have got cancer. So they actually placed me in a mental hospital, and I was in a mental hospital from 12 to 14 before I got out of
Jeez.
the mental hospital. So every time in my life where I would let my guard down to feel safe, something crazy would happen. So,
When you went to
of
the
course,
mental hospital, was did your sister get to stay with that family, or did she have to
no,
stay with them?
she actually went back with my biological mother.
Oh man, I was going to ask about them. Your where was your father during your biological father during that?
Don't even know who he is.
Okay,
Never met him.
Gotcha.
No record of him. Since then, somebody has told me who he is, but he denies that I'm his son. Don't know. I don't have a innate desire to go find him or meet him.
Right.
So I don't know, to be honest.
Gotcha. How's your relationship with your sister today? How is she doing?
That's part of my testimony as well, man. We got reconciled. Um, it was a really funny story. I'd already been in the military, got out of the military. I was living in a town called Ada, Oklahoma at Landcrest Apartments. And I went to a party one night, and she was living at Landcrest Apartments as well in Ada, Oklahoma. And we
No
met each
kidding.
other at the party.
What?
Um, yeah, and I was on drugs. I was numbing. I
Yeah.
was using methamphetamines, cocaine, heroin, alcohol. I just got out of the military. Didn't know
Yeah.
my life was in shambles.
Right.
And I asked her to go get some drugs one night, and she ended up getting in a car wreck, hit by a drunk driver, and died.
Oh man.
So I lived with that guilt that it was my fault for a lot of years
Right.
before
Oh my
realizing it
God. That she
wasn't.
was basically the only person you had as family, right?
Mhm.
I imagine you and your mom probably don't talk much, do you?
Funny story is, I got to meet her for the first time on my wedding day. She showed up on my front porch, knocking on the door, saying, "Hey, I need a place to stay."
Hmm. That
And I
takes
was
an
like,
enormous amount of forgiveness. Did you do it?
I said no. My wife pulled me aside. She said, "The Bible says honor your father and mother, not just when they're right." And I was like, "Girl, I love you. We're about to get married, but no." And
Yeah.
we gave her a room. And my wife said it was the worst day she's ever seen me. I paced a lot. I walked a lot. We ended up having a really good conversation after the wedding. And I told her, I said, "I'll forgive you. I'm gonna give you one chance to tell me the truth." I already knew. Already had my case file. I'd already been in a mental hospital. We'd already discussed things in my life, so I knew I'd been raped and molested. And she denied it. I said, "I'm gonna give you one more chance." She denied it, and then the third, I said, "This is the last time. You're gonna walk out my door right now." And she said, "I'm sorry. I was young. I was on drugs myself. I apologize." And so I told her, I said, "I'll tell you what. I don't feel at the age of 32 that it's my responsibility to build a relationship with you. But if you want a relationship with me, build it." I didn't see
I'm
her
here.
again for another year.
Really?
Yeah,
Did you see her again though?
she showed up at my doorstep a year later, knocking on the door, "Hey, I need a place to stay." This
Hmm.
time I said no.
Is she
I
clean?
said, "I'll get you a hotel room." Yeah, she actually leads a recovery group
Fuck.
in Oklahoma, close to
It's,
Arkansas.
even the people like I'm in the recovery program, and they're still people are still sick in the recovery program. You know, we're all
Yeah,
still people.
yeah. You gotta. I'm giving her some grace, right? So I've made a lot of stupid mistakes. I'm 40. I'm upper 40s, and I've made a lot of stupid mistakes since salvation. So I give grace now, and I still don't feel like it's my responsibility to build a relationship with her. But I'll send her a message, Happy Mother's Day, every
Yeah.
Mother's Day. She talks to my wife on a regular basis. Don't talk to me. I think that there's probably still some guilt there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's something that she's got to figure out how to work through herself.
Right.
I can't do it for her.
Is she religious? Yeah.
No,
And you didn't go to church with your biological mom as a child, right? Your
not that.
your journey into the ministry happened, was it through alcohol, or it was through that foster family, right?
Well, that was introduced to Jesus then, and I
Okay.
hated God. I despised God because even secretly then, I'd hear about this good God. I'd hear about this God who loves, and I'd always ask this question: how could a God who loves allow this to happen?
Right.
And it was much later in my life that I actually got those answers. It was much later in that life through fasting and praying and actually giving my life to the Lord, which I actually found God for the first time. I think real sitting in a jail cell. I was
Hmm.
facing. I'm not going to get too much into that because it ain't been 10 years yet, and
Yeah.
we'll just leave that alone. But I found God sitting in a jail cell facing life for drug charges and violent charges. Stuff didn't get filed right, didn't get taken care of right, and I got out. But in the process, there was a minister that came in, and I was strung out on meth. I hadn't probably ate a sandwich in 4 months.
Hmm.
It was bad. I was deep into it. Had two kids, didn't know where those kids were, and this minister, he came in, he preached a message, and I couldn't tell you what he preached, But he stopped right in front of my jail cell and he said, "Hey, man, if you're looking for a friend, come find me when you get out. I love you." And walked off. It pissed me off.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't you tell me you love me.
Yeah. What are you, gay?
Yeah, right. And I'm from the street, right? Like and you're this minister. I'm in this orange jumpsuit. You got this pretty hair and this little suit on. Don't tell me, you know what I'm saying? I've seen plenty of people in my life like you.
Yeah.
And what happened, transpired in there was in those 3 days where this jail cell sat, the community, the Head Start was behind it.
Mm.
And you could look out the bars. And I would look out every single day. I'd look out every single day. And my son would be at when everybody else was playing at the Head Start. He'd be at the fence waving up at the jail. And it hit me that this kid I wasn't part of his life. Everything I touched turned into crap. So I purposely, once I had this child, I backed away. I didn't want to ruin his life. Everybody I loved died, from the military to sister to Samantha. I was still living with all this guilt and this remorse, and drugs would numb it when I was high, and alcohol would numb it when I was high, and self-worth was none. I had zero self-worth. My importance was nothing. And so I didn't want to be part of this kid's life. I didn't want to ruin his life, right? But he didn't care.
Yeah.
He just knew I was daddy, and every day. So I knew right then I needed to do something different. So I got out, and I looked for this preacher. And I was not an ideal student. I'd walk into his church and I'd say, "For God so effing loved the effing world that he gave his effing son." And this pastor didn't get mad. This pastor didn't get angry. He gave me a job. I was homeless. He gave
Mm.
me a job helping remodel the church. I would do stuff like I would go pry up a piece of the concrete. This is a true story. If he was here, he would testify on this. I pried up a piece of the concrete and put it on his desk and said, "I heard you need a paperweight." Just trying to make this man mad.
Yeah.
And he calls a couple of his friends. They got the concrete out, went and relayed it. He called me in. Let's do a Bible study. And I was not. I mean, I would set my timer.
Yeah.
I knew he picked his kids up from school at 2:30. I was in his office at 2:25. Waiting for him to kick me out, and he would just with grace call his wife, "Hey, you got to pick the kids up. Chris is here today."
Yeah.
And this was like for like 6 months, and I got out. I had me a little house at the time. The kid's mom, I'm not getting that detail, but she had kind of bounced out, so I was forced to have the kids at the time. And we got this little house, and I broke my cell phone in half. I got tired of people, even though I wasn't doing drugs, I knew still where to get the drugs. I knew how to, and I got tired of people calling me. So I snapped my cell phone in half, and he hadn't heard from me in 2 days. So he showed up at my doorstep and knocked on my door.
Mm-hmm.
I opened the door, and it was him. I said, "You can't come to my house without asking." And I slammed the door in his face. And he hollered through the door. He said, "But you can come to my house every day for 6 months, but I can't come check on my friend."
Ooh.
One time.
Ow.
And it hit me right here. And right then and there, I was like, I don't know what kind of love this man has, but I need to know what it is. So I invited him in. We ate SpaghettiOs. I gave my life to the Lord, and I began to seek God and seek that kind of love.
Man, that's while you were telling me that story, it's like that's exactly how God showed up in my life.
Yeah.
Just through random people that had nothing to do with me,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that you were actively avoiding him and trying to push him away, and God's like, "Nope,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get through to you."
Yeah. The funny thing is, he showed me underneath his, and I'm gonna get really religious right here. It's whatever, people can believe what I'm about to say or not, but he showed me scratch marks underneath his desk where when I was cussing and dropping the F-bomb and saying "God damn it" and all that stuff, right? Like everything in him wanted to come out and say something, and the Holy Spirit would tell him, "Shut up, shut up," because what he didn't know was I was looking for him to push me out.
Right.
Because that would convince me one last shot that God wasn't real and that love wasn't real.
Yeah, you were trying to validate your own feelings, being an asshole to yourself.
Yep. And all I needed to prove was that God wasn't real.
Right.
And this guy was going to be the one that proved it for me. And I was going to go back to doing what I wanted to do. But I was trying to push this man, and the Holy Spirit knew it. And it was like, don't.
I love that story. So how does that transpire? How do you become a pastor after that?
Man,
was that a moment you were just like, well, I guess this guy really loves me. That's a love I don't even know where it comes from. It's got to be God. Maybe I'm supposed to do this.
Yep. Yes. That started my relationship. Me becoming a pastor happened later on, and there was a journey. There was a journey in rebellion. I was still mad at God. I had a lot of hurt. And the more I would read about God and study about God and fast and pray, and I didn't look to any outside sources.
Mm-hmm.
I opened the Bible, and I would open the Bible, I'd read the Bible, and I would write a lot. I would write what I was seeing, what I was feeling, what I was hearing, and I would pray on these scriptures, and I would read these scriptures, and I found myself getting mad, more and more mad at God. I would still go to church. I was a part of CR. I was a part of any outreach I could get a hold of. I'd go and serve and help. I had this journey with God through a fast one time where I asked God, I just said, listen, if you're real, and if you truly love like this word says you love, then how come you could allow me to be raped and molested? And this is where God gave me the answer, is that he doesn't invade in our free will. I know it's going to be a cop-out answer, and a lot of people ain't going to like it, but how God revealed it to me, and it made sense, is he can't control everything. We as human beings allow the devil to do things. As a mother and father, they failed. They failed to protect me. That was their job.
Yeah.
It is the daddy's and mama's job to protect the children. But what he showed me was that he was with me through it all. And it was through a crazy little dream where I relived multiple times that these things happen. And there was always this speck of light, this moment of light where he prevented it from going where it wanted to go. The devil, and this is the truth, this is where how the devil wants to try to take us out as a child. You look into the Bible. I'm going to the Bible a little bit here. You go to Moses, right? Moses was attempted to be murdered as a child,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
And but God provided a way out through the little crib. He floated down the river. The Pharaoh's family found him. And you fast forward to Jesus Christ. Even Jesus Christ, there was a decree to murder every single child, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Jesus' family got him out. So the devil wants to take us kings out as a child.
Mm-hmm.
So he wants to send things in when you're a kid, when you're helpless, when you're defenseless. And he does it through people who don't stand tall. And it doesn't matter. I went from being lost to being found, from being homeless to being a homeowner, from being an employee to running a business. I went
Mm-hmm.
from being bound to drugs to being set free through Christ.
Right.
And 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 I look at all these things that happened in my life, and it was the devil who did it. And God who protected and is going to use it now. He prevented it from going where the devil wanted it to. And the devil made a huge mistake. He allowed me to make it to that jail cell without killing me, because God came in and showed me that his promises were true in my life, that I would be more than a conqueror, that he would use this story, what the devil meant to harm me, he will use for good. And what I found through this and the whole entire thing was that I have a ministry to reach people different than pastors do.
Mm-hmm.
So my congregation, the people that I reach, Just One More God Ministries is the name of my ministry. And we're focusing on one. We're looking for that one lost person who has a story like mine, who has a story like yours, who has a story like the audience that listens, that one who believes that there's just too much in their life that God could never use them. And that's all a lie. Those are
There's
the
a story
ones.
about the Bible that you're basing this off. It was about the sheep. You want to tell
Yeah.
the audience that
Yeah.
story about the
Yeah, so
99?
there's Jesus talks about in Matthew that there was 99 sheep, and he says which herder or sheep herder wouldn't leave the 99 sheep to go find that lost.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, but the beautiful part of that story is he doesn't just go find that sheep. He picks that sheep up. He carries that sheep back to the flock, and he throws a party because he found that one. So God loves everyone equally, but he really loves that broken person that's way out there, and he'll drop everything. There's three stories. There's a woman with a lost coin, and there's a father with a prodigal son. And all three of those represent the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The Father's love for us is crazy. But each one of those three stories have if you go look them up, they're all in Matthew. But all three of those stories have one thing in common, that there is a party thrown when that lost thing is found. And I was that lost thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the devil wants to isolate us. He wants to keep us believing that we are in recovery by ourselves. He wants us to believe us that our shame is too great, that God can never look upon us. He wants us to believe that the things that have our past hurts are so powerful that we're worthless and useless. But that's all just advice from the devil, because we are more than conquerors. We are king's kids. We are, man, listen, you may not even believe in God. It's not my job here today to anybody that listens to this or whatever I'm not here to persuade people to believe in God. I know there's higher powers in your mind sometimes, whatever it is. But for me, it's Christ. For me, it's Jesus. And I'm able to reach people. I reach bikers. I reach addicts. I go to the addict. I've been there. I don't wait for the addict to come to me. I bring me and my crew. We roll up to the dope house. We sit with you in your alcoholism. We allow you to bring your beer into the church building. We've been kicked out of our town for that. We have a building outside of town because of it.
I love that. That's
Yeah,
truly meeting people where they are.
yeah,
The way Jesus would have done it.
yep. We
You
got
know?
so many testimonies. We had my favorite one is this man who was 80 something years old, been an alcoholic his whole entire life, was
Oof.
never welcome into the church,
Right.
right? And he saw a flyer that said BYOB. And the church or not our congregation, but we have this thing called a minister alliance. They called us in. They're like, we know you mean bring your own Bible, but you need to specify that. I said, I don't mean bring your own Bible. They're like, what do you mean? I mean bring
I
your
meant
own
beer.
beer, bring your own bong, bring your own bag. Like, it
Yeah.
don't matter. We purposely take the children out of the atmosphere. They have a children's program over here by themselves. So it's just us adults.
Yeah.
And, we don't let you smoke marijuana or methamphetamines in the building, but you can open the door and stand in the hallway
Yeah.
and smoke it all you want. And the reason why is because some people might like that smell. Some people might not like that. But you bring your beer right on inside.
Yeah.
And this man did. And he came in with a 30-pack. The next week, he came in with a 30-pack again. He didn't drink a drop, but he came in with it. The next week, he gave his life to the Lord. And then over the next month, he went from a 30-pack a day to a 6-pack a day. And then 60 days later, he died. But he had never given his life to the Lord. And he said that testimony was nobody ever accepted him. So we were able to open our doors to a man bringing a beer in 60 days before his time was up.
The
And he was able
beer
to
was
give
the
his life.
thing that brought him to God.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was the one thing preventing him from finding God, because nobody would let it, because it was so bad.
That's
So
a human thing. That's a human
yeah,
thing. That's a
right.
judgment
Yeah.
of us
Yes.
judging each other.
Yeah. And we love to do that, right? People
Yeah.
love to judge. And the reason why we do that is because we have what we call acceptable sins and unacceptable sins. Alcoholic, dope, drug. These same people that say you can't do none of that are the same ones who will go eat 45 pizzas at all you can eat pizza buffet.
Right.
And that's okay, but
Right.
that ain't. No,
Or
no,
have a
no.
32-ounce of soda all day long.
Yes, yes, and it stays full, right?
Right.
Are they secretly watching pornography every single day till they fall asleep, right? Like
Right.
we as long as we can, as humans, judge somebody else, as long as I don't look that way, I'm okay.
Right.
But we got to stop.
Yeah.
We got to stop, and we got to look at each other and understand we all have faults. We all stumble and fall on a daily basis. I have problems now. They're not drugs, they're not alcohol, but because I still have problems, I'm no better than that person pushing the needle in his arm.
Yep. A lot of what that looks like in practice for me, because before I got sober, when you're drinking or you're addicted to something, you kind of have this fake perception of yourself, of who you are, or at least in my case, I did. But now that I'm sober,
Yeah.
like I just have a clear understanding about everything. Like, I'm learning so much more, and what I've learned the most is that I don't know anything.
Yep.
Like, the best way I can approach everything is just to be a beginner and be a learner, someone that can absorb
Yep.
knowledge.
I
But
have a
yeah,
saying I love to say.
the what?
Sorry, it cut off in the middle, and I thought you were done, but I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt
I
you.
am. It's all good.
The moment we stop learning is the moment we start dying.
Right.
We were made to understand and learn. And if we ever get to a point where we think we know it all,
Pack it up.
pack it up, we're done.
Yeah.
And I love learning from the people that most people say you can't learn nothing from.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's literally the whole reason for this podcast. And I have a couple other podcasts for that reason. I think stories in general have so much power, depending on what they're used for. And want to be the guy that gathers a bunch of them and distributes them. I want to be a
Yep.
distributor of hopeful stories. You know what I
Yep.
mean? A
Yep.
peddler, if you will.
Yep. So that was a long story of what led to alcoholism.
Yeah, it
So
was. Well, you also, so I want to know how you got into, you also do motivational speaking, right?
yes.
So I imagine there's some crossover between being a pastor and motivational speaking, but how did you get into the motivational speaking world?
Man, it started off with speaking engagement in Northwest Oklahoma called Hope Fest, where they asked me to come in and talk, and I found out and tell my story, and I found out that so many people feel that there is no hope outside of addiction. Yeah, maybe they can get clean and sober. Maybe they can fight off this demon for the rest of their life, but is there really a quality of life afterwards?
Right.
And the world tells you no. But my life tells otherwise. I mean, I have a triple digit salary. I'm educated. I am educated both spiritually and physically. I do chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a senior management of a 75-year-old company that's been established for years, a massive chemical company. I have a wife. I have 3 kids, trying for a fourth kid. I have, all these things are monetary or just, physical things. But what I'm trying to get at is there was life. There was life. And so what I began to do was mix preaching and bring the word to people in real form through motivational speaking. Even my testimony, when I sit down and just tell my testimony, it's a motivational speech to get up and to see that there's life after this. And sometimes these people just need to hear it. They just need to
Right.
hear that there is a chance. And all we really need in life is a chance. But it's what do you choose? So I try to motivate you to choose. And my biggest thing is you don't have to go from A to Z in one step.
No.
Go from A to A.1,
Yeah. Right.
A.2,
Yeah.
A.3, and go all. And maybe it's baby steps, maybe it's small steps, maybe it's a small focus here. But
Mm-hmm.
because what we've got to really understand is that we've got to rewire our brain.
Right.
We got to rewire how our neural pathways move. And I'm not going to get into all that scientific stuff, and it starts with finding out that you are worth something.
Yeah.
What has been done to you, that isn't who you are. What has happened to you isn't who you are. Who you are is an amazing person. Who you are is a creation. Who you are is something that the Lord Himself would die for, to restore an opportunity for connection for you. Who you are is still a man, still a woman. You're not the sum of your past mistakes. Doesn't change who you are today. You're still a conqueror. You're still worthy to be looked at and loved and adored. And it doesn't matter what you see in the mirror. What you see in the mirror is lies. You can change that perspective.
I'm gonna clip that for
So
social media. That was good.
yeah, I mean, you can change it, and it starts with baby steps, and it starts with figuring out who you are. And my whole entire deal for motivational speaking is to let you know that you're loved. You're not who you think you are when you look in the mirror.
And coming from you, that story, a kid grew up basically without a dad, went through some severe traumas, been passed around foster families, lost your sister. To turn that beginning into a story where you're giving back to as many people as you can, that is truly inspiring, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do with this
Yeah,
podcast. So I super appreciate you being here, man, and telling your
absolutely.
story. Yeah. Well, where can everyone find you on social media and maybe your ministry? I'll put that stuff in the show notes.
Yeah. So I'm on my ministries on Facebook,
Okay.
J1MG Ministries.
J1MJ Ministries. That's on Facebook?
J1MG. Yep.
I'm just going to pull it up. J1MG.
It'd be a red lion with J1MG down the side of it. It says church outside the four walls.
Religious or not yet ready? Yeah. Biker Church. So I'll link to that one. And then you want me to link to your personal stuff or just leave them off?
Yeah. And then because I do a lot of counseling. restoration counseling through my Instagram, through my Facebook. On Facebook, it's Chris Wells. You have me on there, not the KRIS, CHRIS
The
Wells.
CH, okay.
Yeah. The KRIS Wells is actually my son's account, but
Okay.
but he's not quite old enough yet to fully, so I have to manage that.
Right.
And then you have my Instagram as well. So you guys can hit me up, and I'm open to talk. I'm open to share more stories. I'm open to speak to you. I give my phone number out. I have connections around the United States of America, not just Oklahoma. And what I can help you if you're hurting or you're broken, I can relate to you. I know there's so much more in my testimony that I haven't even got into. I've been in and out of jail, prison, military, all this stuff. So I can relate to a lot of people about a lot of things. And my wife has a crazy traumatic past as well. So we do females too. If you need somebody to reach out to, she'll help. She joins in with my ministry, and she's phenomenal. We're still dealing with her health right now, but she teaches me how to have faith and trust in God every single day. She's a gangster. So anything, and there's nothing off board. It doesn't always have to be about religion. It doesn't have to be about God. You don't have to believe the way I believe. It ain't my job to make you believe the way I believe. It's my job to love you where you're at. And I practice that, and I do that. And you may believe in Buddha. You may be a Muslim. I don't care. I'm not here to make you believe in Jesus Christ. I'm here to show you some love and some compassion, let you know that there's life after recovery.
I love that. We're probably, dude, maybe we'll get you and your wife on next time. We could keep doing this. What I like to do with some of the guests, depending on what the subject matter is, like for you, if I have another guest on in the future, want some workout advice or some advice on recovery, be like, hey, I got a buddy who does that, and I want to hook you guys up, or maybe get you back on the podcast to answer a question or something like that.
Yeah,
if you're willing. So I would
anytime
love that.
you let me know. We're connected for a reason. We ran into each other on Threads, which I still haven't figured out how to operate yet. So we haven't bounced into that one yet. Only thing I do on Threads is walk around and tell everybody good work. That's it. That's as far as I've made it.
Well, I'm in the mix, dude. So what I'm also doing, just for your information, is we're starting a content agency. Me and a buddy of mine, we have another podcast as well. But like we're gonna really help people build their own social media brands. Like small businesses is what we're going after. So if you get in the gym, you want help making your fitness content or whatever, you want some free editing, I got you.
Gotcha. We're gonna get into that for sure.
We can work into that. But part of the content agency, if you have some friends that need that service, they can go to my website and they can pay for it. But for the people I have on the podcast, I'll do some free video work for it, just to trade some content.
Let's do it.
Yeah. But thanks a lot for being on Almost Above Average, Chris. I really appreciate it, man. We'll do it again in the future if you're willing.
Hey, you just let me know. We'll stay connected. Message me.
Yeah, we'll do. What I'll do is I'm gonna try to get this episode out by Sunday. And so when I start clipping the stuff for social media, I'll tag you on the clips. If that's cool, if you want.
Yeah, and I'll record. I'm doing arm day today. I'll record my arm day.
Okay, yeah, do that, and I'll put it together in a cool workout for myself.
Let you get in on it.
All right, Chris. Well, you have a good day, man. Thanks for coming by Almost Above Average. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Looking forward
to seeing you. Of course, man.
You.
We'll talk to you soon. Later. Thank you for joining us on this eye-opening episode of Almost Above Average. Today we heard from Chris Wells, a true testament to resilience and transformation. From battling addiction to embracing fitness and motivating others. Chris's journey is proof that change is possible, no matter how dire the circumstances. We shared laughs and stories of unexpected challenges and invaluable insights on overcoming life's obstacles. Remember, it's not about following a strict path, it's about finding what works for you, just like Chris emphasized. If you connected with Chris's story or found inspiration in our discussion, please share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a 5-star review to let us know your thoughts. And we absolutely love hearing from you. Please write in and tell us about the show. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you want to hear. The email to the show is mcmedia.network.llc@gmail.com. That's mcmedia.network.llc.com. Let us know what you think.